Nobody wants to hang out with me. I don't have 5-star expectations for this. This one is my favorite one so far. But I did feel like it was pretty boring. I wouldn't class this as a YA romance. I actually wasn't going to start this vlog right now because I was actually supposed to be lacing on my Converse and heading to my dad's, which is what I said I was going to do at 2 p.m. And instead of starting this vlog in the 40 minutes that I've been waiting for 2 p.m, I've decided to start it right this second as I'm about to leave the house. So we are approaching the month of love, and so I want to read a little bit of romance this week. Also because if I read a little bit of romance, then there's a potential for me to be able to clear through my TBR. Probably like we'll end up dipping into February a little bit, but we'll pretty much enter the bulk of February with no books on my TBR, aside from the library books, which we're not even going to talk about right now, because why do I even have them? I don't know. I can't resist my impulses. But if you watched last week's vlog, you will know that I was going to say in the middle. I'm actually about a third of the way through The Deer and the Dragon by Piper CJ. This one is a little bit of an urban fantasy. It is following a woman who was a sex worker and she made a ton of money. She was like a high-class escort, and she used it to buy herself like a really comfortable bougie luxury apartment and settle down and write a few books. So she's currently like the best-selling author of this series of, I think that they are like paranormal romances. It's kind of meta because the kind of book that she writes is the kind of book that I'm reading. Like, it's an urban fantasy, and each book in the series is centered around a certain mythology. So I think the first one was Norse, and I can't even remember actually what she said the second one was, but in the synopsis of this it says that this one is inspired by Norse mythology. But I also know that we have like standard angels and demons in here, because we also have somebody who I think is going to be the love interest of this, who is a prince of hell. So the main character Marlowe believes that madness runs in her family. Her grandmother used to see things that weren't there, and so did her mother. So since she's been seeing this like shadowy figure that she just so happens to be in love with following her around for like the last 8 years, she just assumed that it was this hereditary madness that the female line of her family have. However, when the hallucinations kind of start to multiply, she thinks that maybe what she's actually doing is seeing into like a different dimension, a different realm, and that this is something like a gift that is in her blood as opposed to like a madness that she can't escape from. And it all kind of comes to a head when this guy that has been haunting her, almost following her around for the last 8 years, suddenly disappears, and all of these other figures that are coming into her life are telling her that he is a prince of hell. So this is an interesting one because there's a lot of books that I read that are not strictly paranormal romance but follow the same kind of formula and tone of a paranormal romance. An example of that would be like the Fae Guardian series by Lana Pacherzik. Technically it is like a dystopian futuristic series, and it's also containing fae that I would consider to be more of a fantastical than a paranormal creature, but in terms of the formula of the series it very much feels like your typical paranormal romance. This is the opposite. It has all of the elements of a paranormal romance or a paranormal detective series like the Dresden Files, but it doesn't have the formula, and for that reason I'm actually kind of enjoying it. Like, the main character I feel is very typical of the main character of a paranormal series. All of the like creatures and the side characters, the way that we're not really sticking to one mythology here, it's like a free-for-all. We have Norse gods, we have like your typical angels and demons all playing a part in this. Very much reminds me of paranormal series that I've dipped into in the past. There's actually elements here of, what was this series that I tried recently? The first book's Fantasy Lover, I think, or am I thinking of the Black Dagger Brotherhood there? The Dark Hunter series by Sherilyn Kenyon is the one that I'm thinking of. The first book is indeed Fantasy Lover. It's reminding me a lot of that series in terms of, like I said, the characters and the way that we're drawing on mythology, but it reads a little bit more like a typical fantasy novel as opposed to falling into all of the conventions that I don't typically like of the paranormal genre. So it's a bit of a weird one because a lot of elements are making me think it shouldn't work for me, but something about it is. I don't like how it feels kind of self-inserty because the main character is a best-selling author with a don't give a fuck attitude, which is very reminiscent to me of like Piper CJ. So I don't like how that feels super meta, but I do like that there are a lot of super angsty monologues in here. It's mainly the main character who's very reclusive and isolated in her own head, filling us in on some of the events in her past that have led her to the place that she is today, as well as explaining like this isolation and loneliness she feels with her main companion in life being this shadow demon that she thinks is actually a figment of her insanity. So the way that adds drama to the story is really doing it for me. But we are currently at the point where we're going to get some side characters introduced. One in particular called Fauna has just really entered the story, but it's going to be interesting as we get into the more fantastical creatures of the world and the fantasy starts to play a part, and as we begin to pick up the plot of the main character finding out why the Prince of Hell has disappeared, whether it's still going to hold my interest.
I don't really get it. I don't know. Was there a little bit of a tough period?
Butterflies are floating like your red hair in the breeze. Spring awakening.
Just got back from my run, have Olaplex on my hair, and I also have the Holy Trinity, maybe the Holy Quadrant if you count Brie as a blessing, which I'm never sure if I do, to be honest. But I have my coffee, I have my Beck's Fast Pot, which is my post-run reward. This one is Divine Chocolate Hazelnut, which is one that I actually haven't tried before, so I'm excited about that. And their new menu was released, so I've just ordered 6 more pots because I'm now halfway through the last ones that I got, so that's very exciting. And I also have my book, which I think I'm about 60% of the way through now. I am on page 294 and I'm hoping that I can finish this today because aside from a little bit of admin and editing a reel, I am not planning on doing anything apart from trying to read this book.
Takes me into lilac dreams. Lay beside me, whisper soft.
I am approaching the 75% mark of this book, I think. I'm on page 360, which is 28 chapters in. And annoyingly, today I discovered that this is on Kindle Unlimited, which is great because I'm actually really enjoying it. And if I'm being honest, I didn't really expect to. So if you guys have a KU subscription, then you can go ahead and read it on Kindle Unlimited. However, the reason why I bought the paperback is because it wasn't on KU, and the ebook, like if an ebook's more than $1.99, I'm not going to pay for it, I'm being honest. So the paperback was the best way for me to read this, and lo and behold, it's now on KU, but it's fine. I have of course downloaded it to my Kindle, and that is the way that I've been reading it today. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update because honestly I was supposed to yesterday and I intended to, but depression was kicking my ass. That is just the theme of January, and obviously seasonal depression is a thing. It affects a lot of people. The really irritating thing for me is that I like January. Like logically with my brain, not whatever it is that controls my emotions and the chemicals in my brain that makes me depressed. I love January. January is a super long month. Everyone complains about it, but for me, I'm thriving because nobody expects anything from me. Nobody wants to hang out with me. It's cold. I don't have to go outside. I can stay inside. I can hibernate. And then seasonal depression comes along to ruin my life. So I'm feeling a little bit better today. We have had quite a bit of sun today though. My run this morning was honestly stunning. Not on the cardiovascular system because I went for my first run of the year on I think Saturday, and it reminded me why you shouldn't take breaks from running because man, did it suck. So today I did running and walking intervals, so I feel good in terms of like the endorphins that running releases, but actually during the run I could have died. I could have died. But I've taken a little bit of a day off today because honestly with the seasonal depression it's needed, because everything, if you suffer with depression or mental health issues in any way, you will just know how when you're going through a rough patch, everything you do uses about twice as much energy as it typically does, and that is currently where I'm at right now. Like everything I'm doing is exhausting me. So yesterday when I intended to update you, I had a lot of filming to do. I filmed 2 videos, edited and scheduled one to go up last night, and so that was pretty much all I could manage for the day, and I was really tired afterwards. And actually I just had a really bad day in general because I've smashed my phone. Not the screen thankfully, and it works perfectly fine. I did crack the screen protector, but it needed replacing anyway. I already had one and I just replaced the screen protector with my new one. But I have, as you can see there, I've smashed the back of my phone. All of this bit under the case is smashed. And there's like, I don't know if you can see them through the case, but I've got like long cracks down the back, which I'm due for an upgrade soon anyway, but I actually wasn't going to upgrade for the first time in my life. I was going to go SIM only for a while because there's nothing wrong with my phone, and now it has absolutely no trade-in value because I've smashed the back, and I did inquire, it costs £599 to replace the back, so I ain't going to do that. I have found somewhere where I can trade it in broken, which is what I am going to do when my contract runs out, which is the beginning of April. So I guess that is my solution. But I was upset about it yesterday. I mean, we've already talked about depression in this, but generally, because of that, I can be a little bit hard on myself, and I was really beating myself up about the fact that I broke my phone yesterday. But I found myself a solution because that is integral to me. Like, I need to know what the solution is. And now I've had a little bit of time to sit with my feelings. I'm feeling better about that as well. And I say that I've taken today as a little bit of a day off. I have done some admin, just edited and posted a reel, and my actual reason for taking a day off is to get some concentrated reading done. So I think I've already read about 60 pages today. I'm going to try and read another 10% because I'm kind of working in 10% increments, and then I have to go to the library and take back The Familiar, which is due today and it can't be returned. So in line with my New Year goals, I have to just send it back and maybe get it out again in the future when it's the only library book that I have out, because I didn't read it. I've actually had that out of the library on and off since last April, or was it last like June? Regardless, it's been a long ass time and I haven't read it. So the library closes at 4:30, it's now 2:48. So I guess probably by the time I've read 10% of this, my hair should be mostly dry, and then I can head on over and drop that book off. It's only like a 10-minute walk, so like 15-20 minutes there and back, I think. In terms of the book though, I am really enjoying it. It reminds me a lot of Crescent City, and I was very hesitant to say that because it definitely does, and it's definitely intentional, but Crescent City for me has a like complexity of world that this lacks. This is not set in a fantastical world that has similarities to our own. This is set in our world, but there are different dimensions. So predominantly this is set in the human world, and we have also currently explored the hell dimension as well as the realms of heaven and hell. There are also all of the pantheon of gods present in this world, and the way that the characters are kind of coming in and out reminds me a lot of like the side characters in Crescent City. Some of the male characters we have, like the angels and demons, remind me of Crescent City characters like Tharian and I guess like Ethan, those kind of characters. So I think I'm enjoying it because of that. Like I said, it has a lot of the hallmarks of paranormal or urban fantasy that I typically don't like, but written in a way that is different from the formula that I dislike, which I think is why it's working for me. The main character, I don't really like her, but it's not more of an issue. Like, I find her just generally unlikable, and as we go throughout the story, she's a little bit less self-centered, mainly because she's focusing on the plot aside from herself, so she's a little bit more tolerable in that regard. But yeah, it's just really working for me. Maybe it is because I went in with such low expectations. I will warn y'all though, this is very anti-Christianity, which does not bother me one bit. It essentially goes in with the ethos that if you believe that God is real, then you have no reason not to believe that the Greek gods and the Egyptian gods and all gods are real and kind of like deserving of worship or not, depending on how you feel about that, which honestly is my ethos when it comes to religion. Just a heads up in case you are Christian, or I guess religious in any manner, like following any beliefs. It's just it really hones in on Christianity in this one, and maybe you don't necessarily want to be confronted with that when you're reading. But like I said, that means absolutely nothing to me, and I'm actually appreciating a lot of the discussion surrounding religion in this book, especially because the main character and also Piper CJ herself, I think, grew up in very religious households. So the main character has had to break away from this, and she is very triggered by mentions of religion, specifically Christianity, which is actually one of the main reasons why she's been running away from this situation she's ended up in for so long. And instead of believing in the things that she's been seeing, she's kind of written them off as hallucinations because of what was literally actually beaten into her when she was a kid, because her mother was very abusive and a very devout Christian. And there is a little note at the beginning that says, before we start, a word from Piper, and it does talk about how she drew on her own upbringing regarding religion to write this book as well. So I just finished scheduling the February TBR that's going up later today, and I cannot believe that right now I am somebody who is filming, editing and scheduling videos the day that they're about to go up. I am doing it on purpose. I'm trying to not get swept away with things that need to be done if they don't need to be done anytime soon, because what I find is that, like, now that I've done this, I could move on and start editing a video that's going up next Sunday, but that's going up in over a week and I have all of next week to do it. So why don't I do something else now? Like, why don't I focus on reading or go get my workout in or something like that, especially when I'm pretty much up to date on everything that does need to be done by this week. But it still stresses me out a little bit. I feel like I'm really testing my anxiety, because I'm like, what if there's a power cut and I can't get my video up? What if something happens and I have to, like, there's an emergency and I have to react to that? But what if is not realistic. Is it really? Anyway, that's not why I'm here to talk to you guys. I'm here to tell you about The Deer and the Dragon, which I have just finished. I actually really liked this, which is surprising because I have heard really bad things about Piper CJ's other series, which is The Night and Its Moon. So I kind of expected this to be in the same vein. And the thing that surprised me the most, and pretty much straight off the bat with this book, is that I really liked the writing style, and that is one of the things that I actually didn't think was going to be that great. I looked up some negative Goodreads reviews of this because it does have, like, quite a middling rating, and so I looked up some of the lower reviews, and a lot of people don't like the main character, which is valid. I mean, she gets more tolerable as the book goes on, but I wouldn't be her bestie. And I did see some complaints about the extent of the monologues in here, which I actually don't mind. I love the drama of a monologue. Give me a monologue over dialogue any day. I would rather the entire book took place inside the character's head than was a series of, like, endless conversations that never stopped. I was also a little bit surprised that I enjoyed this so much, given the nature of it, that it does have a lot of entities that stray into the urban fantasy or the paranormal genre. But I do really think that the style of the novel is what made me enjoy it. The love interest in here is a shadow daddy, and we all know that they are my favorite kind. It's weird actually, because I do think that it walks the line between things like urban fantasy and paranormal and, like, typical fantasy and fantasy romance, and for me it struck the balance perfectly where it really worked for me. But I was really trepidatious going into it, knowing that we were going to have all of these creatures and all of these gods. But I think Piper CJ actually pulled this off really well. I think if you do like things like Crescent City, then there is a chance that you will enjoy this. I would say the difference between something like Crescent City and this is that Crescent City, while being urban fantasy, is still also epic fantasy, and this is not. Like, the scope of the plot currently is a little bit smaller. The world is not as expansive, and I feel like Crescent City in terms of a world feels a lot more fully fleshed out, where this heavily relies on what we already know about our own world and other religions and mythologies to do a lot of the world building in this book. And it's kind of like all of these realms and different mythologies laying side by side instead of being mixed together to create something that feels a little bit more new. So I gave this one 4 stars, and I'm actually really happy because the sequel is out in February. This did end in a little bit of a weird place. I feel like it would have ended on a cliffhanger, which is obviously, like, it's something that people do, if it would have ended the chapter before. But then the final chapter actually, to me, felt like it could have been the first chapter of the next book, and the actual ending note was fine. It just didn't feel like the ending note of a book. So thank you very much to Katie for choosing this one as your Patreon pick and recommending it to me. I did not have high hopes for this, but it exceeded all of my expectations. Speaking of Patreon picks, we are going to go for another one, and this one sadly does have expectations attached to it, and that one is Checkmate by Ali Hazelwood. This one is Lauren's pick, and I think, was this my December pick? I can't remember. I'm nearly up to date anyway. I think I'm only going to be carrying one forward to February, because I don't know if I can get this finished by tomorrow, but it'll definitely be finished by the end of this vlog. Ali Hazelwood is one of my favorite contemporary romance authors. However, I have only read her STEMinist books. It's a young adult romance from her, which will be the first one that I've read. I also haven't read Bride, which is her paranormal, and I know that her next one, Deep End, is going to be a sports romance. So all of the STEMinist stuff I love. I've given all of them 5 stars. I don't have 5-star expectations for this just because I know it is YA. However, I do believe it is smutty, at least somewhat, and a lot of people have not complained but made the judgment that it actually belongs more in new adult than it does YA, because it's still pretty much in line with her adult novels, I believe, just with characters who are, I think they're like 19, 20. So they're not even really that young. So from what I remember of the plot of this one, it is following a girl who has given up chess because it says like very vaguely in the synopsis that it tore her family apart, and she ends up beating this guy in a tournament. Now he is a chess prodigy and he cannot get over the fact that she has beaten him, which makes him want to play her again. The fact that she has beaten him as well opens a bunch of doors for her that she never expected, and she has to decide whether she wants to take this opportunity. I think that the money is something that would actually change her life, or whether she needs to walk away from chess for good because some way, somehow, it's something that has hurt her family in the past. So I currently need to go work out. It is almost 3 p.m. I'm gonna get my workout in, and the meal that I put on the meal plan for today, it says it's got a 2-hour cook time, which I knew, and logistically I thought I could make it work, but now I'm thinking about the fact I have Patreon sprints at 6, and I'm like, can I though? Because I have to chop all the vegetables and stuff and get my workout in, and I want to watch an episode of Marry My Husband, which I will talk about in a little bit more detail at some point during this vlog, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm only 2 episodes in. Can I do all of that before 6 p.m, which is 3 hours? Considering my workout's an hour, the episode's an hour, and the food is a 2-hour cook time, I don't think I can. Obviously the cook time is like, a lot of it is unsupervised cook time. I'm not actually actively cooking, but I still think that's a push even for me, so I need to find some sort of solution.
Sweet empathy, crisp reflections on the water of you close to me.
My February rep package from Luna Bookish Flames candles has just arrived. So if you missed my last unboxing of these, Luna Bookish Flames candles are a small UK based bookish candle business. All of their candles are soy wax, they're all woodwick, they're all inspired by books in some way. And if you would like to check them out, the link to their Instagram and also their Etsy will be in my description box. And I do have a code, which is Becca15. It is indeed Becca15, and it will get you a 15% discount off all of Luna Bookish Flames candles. So I believe that everything in this box, and once again it is a hefty box, is from the new Pages to Screen collection, which, as you can imagine, focuses on books that have been adapted into movies or TV shows as well, I think. Oh my days, this is like a field day for Brie. Please don't. No chips for you. No chips. So the first one that we have is one of the big 9-ounce jars. I think that the burn time on these is about 35 hours. This one is a Game of Thrones one as well, which obviously I am a big Game of Thrones fan. I don't think, no, you're too low down to see my Game of Thrones books. But this one is Ice and Fire, and the scent is lemongrass, mandarin, bergamot, ginger, coriander, and amber. So I'm expecting like citrusy but spicy as well. Yep, and I was not disappointed. We definitely have citrus coming through in this one. It's a very fresh scent. With all of the chips in the top of this box, I feel like I'm doing a lucky dip. We have another one of the 9-ounce jars here. This one is Fire and Blood, and the title of this one is Bound by Fire and Blood, and the scent is lime, orange, jasmine, orchid, rose, vanilla, amber, and wood. So I think this one's going to be a little bit more musky, a little bit deeper, which yes, it is. Also, I did expect this one to be slightly citrusy, but it's actually more floral, but like a sweet floral. I really like this one. This one is one of the smaller candle tins. The tins come in 2 sizes. This one is Reading Fuel, and the scent is fresh ground coffee beans. I'm excited about this one because I do actually really like coffee candles. Oh, this one's like a really strong like coffee scent. Next up we have one of the larger candle tins. These ones are 8 ounces, so they are slightly smaller than the big jars, and I think that they have a 25-ish hour burn time. This one is a Twilight one. The title is And So the Lion Fell in Love with the Lamb, and the scent on this one is lemon, orange, peach, apple, red berries, creamy coconut, and vanilla musk. So very fruity. This is nice. I can really feel like the creamy coconut having like a nice softer undertone to this, so it's not like super in your face fruity. This one feels like it is, get out of there. I wish y'all could see how obsessed she is with this box. She's literally just face down staring into it. But this one is another one of the 8-ounce tins, and it is, okay, this one's June. I have not read nor seen June yet. I heard that I didn't hear, I saw the list of Oscar nominees, and the second Dune movie, I think it's the second, has been nominated for a couple, so I do feel like I need to check it out, especially because I do own the first book as well, so it would be good to know if it's something I actually want to read, because classic fantasy and sci-fi doesn't always work for me. But this one is called Dreams of Dune. It has a lot of scents in here. A lot of them are spicy. We have like spiced cardamom, nutmeg, cinnamon, clove. We have some florals like lily and freesia, as well as something that's going to add like a bit of a rich undertone, I think, like the patchouli, the sandalwood, and the frankincense and myrrh. Yes, this one is like, it's not spicy, it's more like herbal, incensey. It's a very nice gold as well. This one is one of the 9-ounce jars, and we have the ring bearer. This is, right, is this the Hobbit or Lord of the Rings? Y'all know I'm not a Lord of the Rings girly. That's Frodo, and Frodo is in Lord of the Rings, right? Anyway, let's pretend I didn't ask that question. This one is orange, pineapple, mandarin, and tropical fruits. Yes, very, very light fruity scent. For another one of the smaller candle tins, once again, Lord of the Rings. This one is Rings of Power, and the scent is orange, peach, creamy dairy, orris, jasmine, rose, vanilla, and malt maybe. So this one is fruit with creamy undertones. Ooh. This one is my favorite one so far. It has like an almost, is it like an almondy? No, I keep wanting to say it's marzipan, but it's not. It's something else, like a frangipan. Okay, is that how you say frangipan? Kind of undertone scent to it. I really like that one. If y'all are wanting to purchase, like you're picking the candles that you want to buy based on which ones I prefer, I like vanilla scents, I like sweeter scents, I like deep scents, things that have things like amber in. I also really like things that have sandalwood as undertone. Just in case you're wondering, like my personal preferences, if you are a lover of fresh candles, then you do not want to be buying the ones that are my favorites. Like if you like clean or fresh or like florals, pick the ones that I'm not saying are my favorites. This one is the Shire, Lord of the Rings again, and it is, oh my days, Bakewell tart, cherry, raspberry, strawberry puree, fondant icing, and vanilla almond cake. I'm gonna like this, especially if the Bakewell's strong, which it is. Oh yeah. I'm gonna put these to the side so that I remember that they're my two favorites. This one is a big tin. Oh, this one is Wednesday, and it's Dance Dance Dance. The scent on this one is vanilla, black coconut, and tonka. 3 of my favorite scents all in one. Yes. This one's a little bit fresher. Like from that, you would expect it to be creamier and sweeter than it is. It's not. It's like a fresh coconut vanilla scent. Stunning though. I love it. It smells like body lotion. The next one is tin, and it is One Scent to Rule Them All. So once again, Lord of the Rings themed. Bergamot, lime, lemon, rose, fig, ylang ylang, jasmine, ambergris, saffron, cinnamon, sandalwood, musk, and patchouli. Ooh. Definitely incensey. Like a strong, like aromatic kind of. It's like a very rich one. I imagine that the scent throw on this one is really great. This one is, I think it's Bridgerton. The character art is definitely giving Bridgerton, but I have not watched Bridgerton for a long time. But it's called Dearest Reader, and it is chocolate, brown sugar, and vanilla ice cream, and I have just like lifted the lid a little bit. Definitely chocolate ice cream. 100% smells like chocolate milkshake. I like that one as well. And then let's just see what we have left, because we are getting to the bottom here. Is it one more? Yeah, we've got one more left. Ooh, we have another Fire and Blood one, which is I Pledge My Sword and Life to You, My Queen. And this one is peach, butterscotch, aged bourbon, tonka beans, caramel, and vanilla. Also sounds like one I'm really gonna love. This one, 100%, I can smell the butterscotch. It's like a, if the other one's like chocolate milkshake, this one's like a caramel ice cream. Oh, that's really nice. So thank you very much to Luna Bookish Flames for sending all of these, because there's a lot over for me to show to you guys. Do remember that you can head down to their Etsy store in my description box, use my code Becca15 to get yourself a discount on anything from the site, but also of course the pages to screen range. My favorites, if y'all are interested, just to recap, are the Shire and also Rings of Power. I think of the two, it is Rings of Power. Yeah, I don't know why, but I really like that one. And then I also really love
Dance, Dance, Dance. And that one's like the fresh coconut vanilla. And I also really like this one as well, which is the chocolate milkshake. I am flying through this book. I did want it finished today, which seems unlikely now because it is bedtime and I'm just going to read a little bit before I go to sleep. But it is the last day of the month, which is why I wanted to wrap this one up. Unfortunately though, I dedicated most of my day to working on my visa application for China, which I didn't know until a couple of weeks ago was going to be such like an intense, involved process. So it's been a lot of like researching, wrapping my head around what needs to be done. And I have got as far as possible in the application at this stage, but it took me a long time to get there and I feel like I haven't really produced anything today, like nothing's been completed. So that did very much eat into my reading time, but I read about 130 pages of this on sprints yesterday. I flew through it and I've missed Ali Hazelwood. I didn't read any Ali Hazelwood in 2024 and I actually forgot how funny her books were. I definitely understand the observation that this is more of a new adult romance than a young adult, and honestly the characters are not that young. Like our youngest one is 18 but our male main character is 20. So while I don't understand I wouldn't class this as a YA romance because it's a romance. I feel like if we're talking about young adult and romance, then the characters need to be a little bit younger. Anything above 18 for me should at least be a new adult romance. I feel like the reason why this has been categorized as YA is to differentiate it a little bit from her adult books, and also because the main characters are dealing with some quite young adult problems, I think. That is quite ironic though, because our female main character Mallory is actually the adult in her family at this moment. So it mentions in the synopsis that chess ruined her life, and the entire story is like dancing around something that happened with her father. And her father was the one, he was a chess player himself, he got her into chess, and something happened that broke her family apart. Like her dad isn't around anymore and chess is somehow responsible, so that's the reason why she stopped playing. But she's currently at a point now where she's left school and she can't go to college because her mother has arthritis and she has like quite intense flare-ups. She can't work anymore like she used to. She can only work if and when she can. She can't always be there to do things like take Mallory's younger sisters to school. And because her father isn't around anymore and her mother is not working like a full-time job, Mallory can't go to college because she needs to be around to work and support her family. Now this is something that she's kind of taken upon herself. Like her mother is constantly saying to her like, you don't have to do this, you should go to college, etc, etc. But Mallory feels such intense like guilt for something and obligation towards her family that she's kind of settled into this almost parental role to her 14 and her 12-year-old sister. So this kicks off where her friend pretty much begs her to join her in this team chess tournament because it's for charity, and she's saying like she's leaving for college soon and it's the last time they're gonna get to hang out. So Mallory goes and she ends up facing off against Nolan Sawyer, who is the #1 chess player in the world, and she ends up beating him. So this is at a point where he has been the #1 chess player for like the last 6 years and he is unbeaten. So the fact that she was somebody who beat him, she's not a professional chess player, she's kind of come out of nowhere, completely takes him by surprise, and from that moment he's kind of locked on to getting her to play chess because he has lost the passion that he had for the game because it's not really challenging him anymore. So playing Mallory kind of really wakes him up. So while he's begging her to play chess with him, she is absolutely set against it because she has sworn off chess. So when she's put in a position where she can play chess and win a little money, she goes for it because her family could really use the money. However, she vows that she is not going to fall in love with chess again and she's not going to play chess recreationally, and nothing Nolan Sawyer says or does about this is going to change her mind. I forgot, well I didn't forget, but when you're out of it you kind of do forget a little bit how electric the chemistry is between Ali Hazelwood's characters. I love the tension between these two. Nothing sexual has happened in this book before, but let me tell you, I did not know that chess could be so horny. Like the tension when they're playing makes me interested in chess. Like my breath is catching reading these scenes of chess games, and I don't care about chess. I know nothing about chess. But Ali Hazelwood is making me want to care about chess, which honestly is the magic of Ali Hazelwood. So when I was reading this on sprints last night, a bunch of my patrons were saying how much they love this and how it's like some of their favorite Ali Hazelwood books, and I definitely see the hype with this. Will it be a 5-star for me? I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything
everything. Like there's every book that I've read this month I've enjoyed. I've only had one book below a 4-star, and that was Pretty Little Liars, and it's book 11, so it's like still enjoyable, but it's just not as good as some of the other books. Everything else I've really enjoyed, and I still have not had a 5-star. Will Check and Mate be my first? Stay tuned and find out.
80 to 90 still under that beat.
Now you are someone I rely on. You make me feel real. Summer days that drift away as we lay in the field.
Good morning. I am hosting sprints at midday today, so I'm taking a minute to try and hopefully finish my book, because I did intend to finish this yesterday, and also drink my coffee before I start to get ready for that. I'm sick of my hair looking like shit at the minute. I don't know what the deal with it is, but when I wake up, because I washed this yesterday, so it should look like fresh, have like a little bit of a natural curl to it, but like my fringe, I'm blow drying it straight, and this is happening immediately, and I don't know how to stop it. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the K-drama that I'm currently watching, because I promised you guys that I would. So we finished Doing It Your Service at the beginning of the week, and honestly, I didn't love that one. Like, I was obviously recommended it, and a bunch of you guys, when I said I was going to watch it, said that you loved it, but there was nothing really wrong with it. I thought that it was like visually stunning in theory. I liked it, but I did feel like it was pretty boring, and I really don't think that it needed to be 16 episodes. So I really found myself kind of like losing focus and drifting off during like the episodes and scrolling on my phone instead. So that wasn't my favorite. It wasn't as good as Lovely Runner at all. But then I started Marry My Husband, which is the one that we're currently 6 episodes into, and this one is about a woman who is dying of cancer. She has like stomach cancer, and she finds out, like, it's established in the first like 5 minutes of the show that her husband is just like not a great guy anyway, but she then finds out that her husband is cheating on her with her best friend, and then he murders her for insurance money. So she then ends up going back in time to 2013 to try and seek a happier life for herself. So she obviously knows that in the future she's gonna have cancer, so she can take measures to try and like stop this, or to get like an early diagnosis so that she doesn't end up dying. And she's also, in 2013, she is dating the man who ends up being her husband, and she is of course still friends with her best friend that she's known since high school. So knowing what she knows from the future, she really like sees through both of them and the way that they've kind of manipulated her entire life, and starts to manipulate them into doing what she wants so that she can find happiness for herself, because she very quickly starts to realize that if something is going to happen, it will happen regardless, but it doesn't have to happen in the same way. So for example, like if a drink is spilled and she saves the drink from being spilled, it is going to spill regardless at a later date, just in a different way. So she tries to get her friend to marry her husband so that that still plays out. It's just that she's not the person in that relationship. Now, I do feel like this has a lot of fault, and I feel like this leads to the character making a lot of bad decisions throughout the show. I feel like she's running with the assumption that her husband has to get married, and that's the thing that has to happen. But maybe it's her that has to get married, and it doesn't have to be to him. And there's so many different possibilities that she's keeping herself in a situation that makes me really angry to prolong the tension, because she thinks she doesn't have a choice, and it's annoying because I feel like she does have other options. This one is definitely an engaging one. I'm finding it to be a lot less repetitive actually than the drama that I've watched in the past, and it's just really keeping me hooked at the minute. It is making me furious though in every episode, because I hate her husband, I hate her best friend, I hate men watching this. There's like a bunch of disgusting like sexist pigs throughout this show. So while I am engrossed, like a big part of my absorption in this show is the fact that I'm so furious at the majority of the characters in it. But it is on Amazon Prime, and it is definitely one that I would recommend. I'm very new to dramas. Like, I watched Squid Game, and I've seen other Asian media in the past. Like, I've watched a little bit of anime throughout my life. I've watched like Battle Royale, but I haven't been somebody who obviously like
seeks out specific Asian dramas. And I only started at Christmas with Lovely Runner, which is still my favorite. Doom at Your Service didn't really work for me, but I am really enjoying Marry My Husband. So I would say if you're a newbie to dramas, it's definitely a good one, especially if you're somebody who thinks you're going to struggle because of the subtitles. If you decide to, I prefer to watch them subbed because it's so engaging that it's stopping me. That's one of the reasons why I'm loving dramas at the minute as well, actually, is because typically when I watch TV, I need to be doing something else at the same time, like crafting or like scrolling on my phone if I truly don't have anything else to do. And this is pretty much eliminating that, and I'm literally just watching TV, which is great because I feel like I've really I know that I've struggled with attention spans for a long time and the need to do two things at once. So I'm really loving that watching K-drama is stopping me from doing that second thing. I just had to whip my laptop out real quick. I mean, I'm setting up for sprints anyway, which start in 14 minutes, but I had to get my spreadsheet up just to confirm my suspicions that Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood is my first 5-star read of 2025 in January as well. That's seriously impressive for me, but honestly, Miss Hazelwood never misses. Like, I have never read an Ali Hazelwood book and given it less than 5 stars, and while this is not my favorite of the Ali Hazelwood books, I still thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think it has a lot of her hallmarks. We had great sexual tension, we had lots of really good banter, it was funny, I was invested. I didn't really like where this ended because I did feel like it was building up to something that I expected to be included in the book, but I felt wasn't. But aside from that, I thought that this was great. I was a little bit dubious going in, knowing that it was YA. And in terms of that, because obviously I was saying earlier that I'd heard that it isn't really young adult, I definitely think that this would be more fitting in a new adult demographic than a YA. However, it is definitely not as smutty as Ali Hazelwood's other books, and the main event, shall we say, is cut out of the story, while a lot of the kind of lead up, the general flirtation and the tension is included. The main event is not depicted on page. So if you want to try Ali Hazelwood but you aren't really a fan of smut, I do feel like you would potentially enjoy this one a little bit more. We all know that one of my favorite tropes is the he falls first trope, and that is definitely a constant in all of the Ali Hazelwood books that I've read, which is why she is definitely one of my favorite romance authors. I love a love interest that is just into a main character, like a female main character, without question. Like, they have always been into them. They're just kind of waiting for this character to like come around and realize the mutual attraction. That is honestly one of my favorite romantic pairings that we can have in a romance story, and like I said, Ali Hazelwood is definitely always delivering on that. I would say that it is a very common like staple of her stories. The focus on chess was fine. I'm not going to run out and play chess for myself, but as somebody who is not interested in chess at all, I thought that it made the subject pretty interesting. And like I said, the way that this built like tension and sexual tension over chess was pretty masterful, if I'm being honest, because I personally have never thought of chess as a sexy sport. So we can firmly say that this is another Ali Hazelwood hit. I feel like I read The Love Hypothesis actually in January 2023, and that set me on a path of just binging through a bunch of Ali Hazelwood books, and I read everything that she had published to date apart from the short story collection pretty rapid fire. And I currently do have, I've still got the short story collection, and I also have 2 other unread Ali Hazelwood books. So could I potentially do the same again? Are we having a repeat of 2023? I would not rule it out, although I do have a lot of reading that I need to get done for other purposes. So I don't know how likely it is. As much as I want to, I don't know if I can do that. I'm sorry if you can hear the fans of my laptop. It's just decided that it wants to be rowdy, but I can't turn it off because I'm getting ready to sprint, which brings us to what am I going to pick up next, because we're pretty much at the end of this vlog. We have until the end of the day, and I actually had a feeling that this was going to happen where we got to the sprints that I planned for Sunday and I didn't really know what it was that I was going to read. So I have been listening to The Gathering Storm like throughout this vlog. I currently have to listen to an hour a day, so I think like yesterday I'm going to start sprints by listening to an hour of this while I play The Sims, and then after that, because I'm starting the next episode of Shelve It or Scrap It tomorrow, I do actually have, because I know what the books for the next episode are going to be, they're all in front of me right now, so I could have a cheeky little head start, but I think I want to use like I know 6 of the 7 books I'm gonna read, but I think I want to use like a random wheel or something to pick the order that I read them in. So instead of dipping into one of those, I might as well just chip away at a book I've already started, which also happens to be a romance, which is perfect for this vlog, and that is The Mistake by Elle Kennedy, which is the sequel to The Deal that I read for the last episode of Shelve It or Scrap It and really enjoyed. So much so that I went straight onto Kindle Unlimited, downloaded The Mistake and started it, but then I obviously had to put it down because I had other stuff that I needed to read. So I only made it about 50 pages in, but this one is a college hockey romance following a member of the hockey team who is in love with his best friend's girlfriend, which is really getting him down, causing him to exhibit some self-destructive behaviors. He also has a little bit of a less privileged upbringing than some of the characters from the first book, in that he doesn't think that he can make hockey his profession because of the pressures of having to look after his family, both financially and also just generally because his father isn't very well. And our main female character, I can't remember very much about her. I think because Logan is a character who is in the first book, we already know a little bit more about him. And while the main female character, Hannah, I think, in The Deal was our predominant character that we follow, so we knew a lot about her as opposed to Garrett, I think in The Mistake we're mainly following Logan. So the main female character, I don't think we really know what she's about yet, aside from that she wants to lose her virginity, and she ends up hooking up with Logan, which obviously starts something, but at this point I don't really know what that is. So I think that's my plan for the rest of the afternoon, and when we wrap up sprints, I'll let you know how far I get. It would be great if I could finish The Deal today, but I have like 200 pages left and I don't think that's gonna happen. It is 10 p.m, also known as bedtime for me, and I'm essentially just dropping in real quick to let you know that I've read absolutely none of The Mistake by Elle Kennedy. It was doing that really annoying thing that I do when I know I don't have to read anything, because I'd already finished the book, like the last book I was going to finish with this vlog, and I'm starting Shelve It or Scrap It tomorrow. So because I knew that I didn't have to read, I dilly-dallied about for most of the sprints, and I only just got through today's section of The Gathering Storm that I had to read. So we're pretty much going to be cutting this vlog here. Realistically, what I should have done today is filmed the first clips, especially because I already had makeup on and stuff, like filmed the first clips for Shelve It or Scrap It, and then I could have got a little bit of a head start on the first book for that video, but that is not what I decided to do. And when I did finally decide that that would have been a good idea, I had no daylight left and I did not want to get my ring light out. So instead of reading this evening, I watched 2 episodes of Marry My Husband, still obsessed, and honestly, I'm gonna tell you guys that I'm gonna go to bed and read a couple of chapters of The Mistake, but actually what I'm probably gonna do is watch another episode of Marry My Husband. So that does of course bring us to the end of this vlog. I do hope you've enjoyed this vlog if you've made it this far. If you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go and nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.